Okay, green butterflies. We are on lesson 10.1, read picture graphs. For this lesson, you will need some blue and green cubes to do the very beginning. So go ahead and pause the video and go get those. All right, once you have your blue and green cubes, let's get started. Our essential question is, what do pictures in a picture graph show? Use blue and green cubes. Draw to show the cubes. Write how many more cubes. There are 2 green cubes and 4 blue cubes. So go ahead and get 2 green cubes and 4 blue cubes. And then we're going to set them on the bar graph. We'll set our 4 blue cubes above the blue cube pictured below, and we'll set our 2 green cubes above the green cube pictured below. Now, you'll notice that this is just a label. It's not a cube. This is just a label for the blue cube column, and this is just a label for the green cube column. That will get more important in later lessons. Let's go ahead and draw the cubes now. We'll take them off and draw them. You can just draw a colored square if you want. If you need to run and to pause the video and go get your blue and green crayons, that's fine. Blue and green colored pencils are fine too, but not markers because they'll bleed through. Okay, now are there more blue crayons or crayons? Yeah, right. Are there more blue cubes or green cubes? There are more blue cubes. How many more? Now be careful, because sometimes it's really easy to say there are 4 more, because there are 4, but there aren't actually 4 more. There are 2 greens. So the 2 greens kind of match up with the first 2 blues. And if we take away, ignore, cover up, whatever you want to say, the ones that match, we see how many extra blues? 2 extras. So there are 2 more blues than there are greens. Go ahead and finish that and then turn the page. All right, here we have a picture of children at the playground. It says, a picture graph uses pictures to show information. Here we have swings and slide. And it tells us here that each stick person stands for 1 child. So, how many stick people are drawn here by the swings? 4. How many stick people are drawn by the slide? 1. No, not 1. 2. So, there are how many children on the swings? 4. There are how many children on the slide? 2. There are more children on the... Now this one's just asking for a word. It's not asking for a number. There are more children on the what? On the swings. So just copy the word swings from here. Since it's right there to copy, I expect it to be spelled correctly. There are more children on the swings. And if you cover up the period, go ahead and write yourself a new one. Okay, let's look at the next section. Share and show, math board. Our favorite activity at the fair. The activity choices were animals or rides. And each stick person stands for 1 child. Use the picture graph to answer the question. Which activity did more children choose? Circle. Give you a moment to do that. All right, which activity did more children choose? Well, if we look, there are more children in the rides row than in the animals row. So you'll need to circle the picture that represents rides. How many children chose animals? And you can count here animals. Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 children chose animals. All right. Let's look at the next one. How many children chose rides? We could count them all, or we could say, you know what? I know that this was 5. And we could just count on from there. 5, 6, 7. Or if you really need to, you can count at the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Either way. 7 children chose rides. How many fewer children chose animals than rides? This is a question very much like the how many more question. Anytime we have a how many fewer or a how many more question, it's asking us about the difference between one number and another number. And you probably remember that sum is a word that means the answer to an addition problem. Well, difference is a word that means the answer to a subtraction problem. Difference means subtract. When we want to know how many more or how many fewer, sometimes they'll say how many less, even though that's not quite accurate. When anytime somebody wants to know how many more or how many fewer, it's a difference question. They want to know the difference between one number and the other, and difference means subtract. So we could subtract 7 minus 5, or since we have a graph, we can just look and go, okay, how many fewer? Well, there are definitely fewer for animals than for rides. How many? Another way to think of it is, how many are missing for there to be the same number? How many are missing for there to be the same number? That's right, we have 2 empty spaces compared to this row, so there are 2 fewer children who like animals than who liked rides. Now, the next page is very similar, as is the next, but there's one thing I want you to be really careful of, okay? We've talked about how many more problems, and we've talked about how many fewer problems. You have some more. Both of those, remember, they're asking about the difference, and difference means subtract. So, I want to show you another kind of problem. Let's look at number 6. How many children in all drink juice and water? What do you know about in all problems or altogether problems? There are some more. Here's another in all problem. Let's see. Here's an altogether problem. When you want to know how many in all, when you want to know them all put together, what do you have to do? You have to add, you have to put the groups together. So for the juice and the water, you'll need to add these two numbers together or count all of the children together because each person still stands for one child. Later, in other grades, you'll start getting into places where each person might actually stand for 5 people. And sometimes you'll see people like half a person, and it's kind of weird. Just be prepared for that. Watch for it later. But for now, each person stands for one child, so you can count them together or you can add them. All right, go ahead and get started.